Hi, I'm Tiffany Johannes with Remax Executive and Charlotte Home Experts. Tonight, we're here to talk about welcome to downsizing your home, an easy process to an exciting journey. I think a lot of us think about downsizing for different reasons. And tonight, we're going to talk about some of those reasons and why you might think about downsizing. So, we're going to talk about what's today's market and does it make sense to downsize and how does that look when we look at current events today? Second, what are you going to do with downsizing? Are you feeling a little bit overwhelmed? How can we address that? Where do you even start? And how do you plan a move? Then we're going to talk about, are you concerned with maybe repairs and inspections? And what does that look like and how you would have to deal with that up front? Then we're going to get into, what do you need to do to price your home right to sell quickly? And what do you need to do to prepare it to be ready to sell? Those are just a few things we're going to talk about tonight. Downsizing covers quite a bit, so let's go ahead and get started. 2021, I think we're all thankful to be here because 2020 was definitely an interesting ride for all of us, something we'd never seen before, something we've never been a part of. Well, now more than ever, if you're thinking about downsizing, if you're thinking about a change, you need to talk to experts in the field to make sure you're making the right decision and you're doing it safely. So tonight I want to talk to you about downsizing and what that might look like. But as we get started, we're really going to talk about how does that look? Why would I want to downsize? You could be someone who's going to be an empty nester soon like myself. You could be someone with student debt. You could be someone who has some credit cards that they want to pay off, or you could just be looking to minimize and get a smaller surrounding. When you think about it, oftentimes, if you went to college or you had your first apartment, you had the size of a home that was like a shoebox of what we would consider today. Or when we were kids, we were sharing bathrooms. There are a lot of things that in today's market, in today's size houses, we often upsize very quickly. And then we start thinking about downsizing and what makes sense for us. So today, I just really want to talk to you about what you need to think about if you're starting to downsize. And I think one of the number one priorities is why are you downsizing and how can it help you? How can it make a difference in your life? Because I think that's the most important component when you're considering downsizing. So, first slide here is just talking about, let's say you downsize and you decide to lower your mortgage amount. We've used $200,000 here just to give you an idea. I'm not saying that's what you need to go to, but if you did, and let's say that you were saving $500 a month. Well, if you have $200,000 mortgage, you're going to pay it off a lot quicker than you are with a higher mortgage because you can add an extra $500 a month based on the mortgage payment maybe you were previously paying, or maybe that's $300 or $200. In this example, we're using $500. And so if you start at $200,000 this year, you can see how that accelerated piece is going to intertwine and you're going to pay off your mortgage a lot quicker. So if you have more money to put towards your mortgage because you're not paying a higher mortgage is what this example is about. So you can pay off a mortgage quicker if you downsize your mortgage. So that's one option that we have to consider. Second option is retirement savings. Have you been thinking about what am I going to do when I retire? What's going to happen with Social Security? What's going to happen if I live to be 100? Well, this gives you some perspective. If you downsize and you're saving yourself $500 a month, you could save $1 to $1.6 million based on what's happened over the past 15 to 20 years in the stock market looking forward over 30 years. If you don't have 30 years to go, you're still going to get that increase. $500 a month invested in a 401k or IRA type approach is really going to give you so much more to look forward to in retirement. So that could be one component that you're thinking of. The next, have a lot of clients out there that have student debt and they always want to figure out what to do. So you could be buying your first house and it be a small house and you're still downsizing from a mortgage payment or from a rent payment. And why I say that is because oftentimes there are ways that you can minimize your student loan and you can look at getting it paid quicker. So in this example, let's say you have $18,000 worth of student debt. So if you're paying it $200 a month, it's going to take you 10, 15 years. If you add an additional $500, look at that green line coming down. It moves a lot quicker and you get that debt behind you. This could also be an example of credit card debt. If you're in credit card debt and you have that extra $500 a month to put towards those credit cards, they're going to be paid off a lot quicker. The blue line is if you go basically what you're doing today, paying the minimum balance. That green line is showing you how much quicker you can get to the finish line. It cuts it in more than half. So if you're thinking about downsizing, these are some financial reasons to consider it. Some of the times when I talk to people, they say, Tiffany, downsizing, I'm sad to leave my memories. I'm sad to leave my neighbors. I'm sad to my daughter or my children. We looked at their height year after year and how they were growing. Here's the mark right here on the wall. I don't want to leave that. I don't want to leave the neighbors and all of those memories. Or adult children are making you feel guilty and saying, oh, I grew up there. I really want my kids to have a place to come back to that is part of our family. Oftentimes, we also see you're afraid of change. And change can be difficult, but it also can be really good. It can be uplifting, particularly when you're removing debt from you. Other times, you've gotten into a house that might have been a little bit too big, a little bit more than you wanted to bite off from a financial standpoint, but you're keeping up with the Joneses. And keeping up with the Joneses sometimes really affects our pocketbook. And it's oftentimes affecting others around you's pocketbook as well. And you just don't realize it because everybody's putting on the facade of we're all doing great, we're all doing well. But if you're thinking about your long-term savings, your long-term happiness, there are ways that we can get around this. Those memories, there are plenty of ways to capture them and saving them. It's more about the experiences and what you have internally. That guilt from family, they're going to get past it. They're going to be happy for you once they see the new place and the new situation. And if they're not, you need to sit down and have some conversations because you need to be happy first and you need to make sure that you're making the right financial decision for yourself. Afraid of change. We all have that piece of, oh, I just don't want to do it. Can I do it? Do I want to do it? Well, what I say is sometimes that change can be the healthiest lifestyle change we've made, whether it's going into a place to where you have more accessibility to what you need, getting closer in to where you have the ability to go more places quicker without driving. There are so many benefits to making that change for a healthier lifestyle. And then the last one, that piece of the Joneses. Well, we all have the Joneses, and you've got to make that decision. Do you want to be able to live well in retirement? Do you want to be able to not be in debt? Those are some of the reasons to downsize. That empty nester piece, my husband and I are getting close to that. Our daughter's a junior in high school, and we're thinking about what's going to happen when she graduates next year. And oftentimes, from an empty nest perspective, you think, do I want to make a move to a smaller place? Well, right now with the mortgage rates, it's something my husband and I have been thinking about making a transition. And there are multiple different ways you can make transitions. So if you have a child or your last child is getting ready to leave the home and you're thinking, how do I take advantage of interest rates today? Reach out to myself because I can give you some pointers and keys out of how to get into that next house and make a difference now while you have interest rates. We're going to talk a little bit about the economy and the market in a second, but those are just some key things. Oftentimes, if you're downsizing, you might also have been in your house for 30 or 40 years. My mother and stepfather recently did this. They actually built a new house, and getting rid of everything and figuring out how to downsize, that is tremendous. So as you are thinking about downsizing, some of the things you're thinking about is, what do I need to get rid of? How do I need to prepare to show my house, to sell my house? It's just way too much, Tiffany. Well, there are clutter experts, and I probably will have a clutter expert on one of our next presentations just to talk about how do you downsize? How do you get rid of what you need to get rid of? I'll do a Q&A with her and do an interview and share that, because when we think of it, you want to make sure that some of your things are going to your family members. Other things you want to make sure are still used in society. So you've got to look at how to divide things up. But one thing you've got to do is kind of put your emotions to the side, because this downsizing piece is going to take a little bit of organization. It's going to take a little bit of focus, and it's going to take someone helping you down that right path. So check your ego at the door, check your emotions at the door, and let's get started talking about some of the things, because when we want to sell your house, we want to put its best foot forward. Putting the best foot forward is the way to get the most amount of money for your home. And once you decide you're downsizing, it's all about getting the most amount of money for your home. And as I look at people and I say that, they get alarmed sometimes. But we're there to do our job to help you to get to that next stage. And sometimes you're not going to like what we have to say, or what your children have to say or what others have to say when they come to help you do that downsizing. You've got to take it with a grain of salt and know everyone's there to help you and to assist you. Let's talk about how you kind of start that downsizing process. So let's look at it in this perspective. We have lots of checklists and ideas, and I'm happy to share this with you, but this just breaks it down pretty easily. What are you going to keep? What are you going to give away? What are you going to sell? And what's going to the trash? I will tell you, the last time my husband and I moved and downsized from the house we were in to today, we had a dumpster out front that was bigger than most job site dumpsters, and we overflowed the thing with trash. We couldn't believe how much stuff we needed to throw away. The give. There's oftentimes that sentimental connection. And with that sentimental connection, you want your grandchildren to have it. But if your granddaughter, let's say, is 10 years old and you're going to have to store it for years, or you're looking at it, perhaps it's better to sell it and give her the money for college, or give her the money for a down payment on a house, or to help her in the future or him in the future. There are things to think about, because oftentimes you'll find your daughter, your son, or someone in your family is not necessarily going to want that heirloom. And so that is hard to come to terms with, but something we see every day. There are consignment shops and antique shops and auctions. Sometimes they work out incredibly, other times not so much. Today, most people almost call their furniture disposable. I don't like to use that term, but they're buying furniture and switching it out often. So the antiques that we've come to love, not everyone is loving. So we've got to look at it from the perspective of, what are the few things that are keepsakes that make a difference? Because millennials and Gen Z, they're more about experiences than they are pieces of furniture. They want to enjoy life. They want to have that experience with you. They want to have that memory with you. That's more important to them than things. So think about that as you start thinking about that keep pile. What are you going to keep? What's going to go into your space? What is sentimental that you need to have? Giving. What are you going to give away? Sell. There are multiple different components of how you can sell. If you're going to sell, I mentioned consignment shops, auctions, estate sales. Then you've also got eBay. You've got a multitude of other sites on Facebook. If you want to sell something locally, there's a way to do it. Oftentimes you'll have lots of people lining up to get it, or if you haven't priced it right, it might sit there and you might not see anyone. So let's talk about that strategy. And then trash, as I said, having a dumpster, having a process of junket to get someone to come and pick up your things and remove them is key. There are many charities out there that are often looking for things that you could donate. They will often pick up. I have worked with a number of charities, and I've actually highlighted a number over the past few months that come out and pick up beds for kids, Furnish for Good, or two that will come and collect furnishings for the house and give them to people who are going from homelessness to home ownership or to renting, so that they have what they need to get set up. So there are lots of different things we can do when you start thinking about downsizing and what that house looks like. There are actually people who their job is to declutter your house, help you get organized, and help you pack up. So if that's something you want, I've got the ladies for you, and I've got several companies that do a fantastic job. So if we're going to downsize, we've talked about getting rid of things. Now, that finding a guide. You've got to find someone who can help you through the process. If you're thinking about downsizing now, 6 months or a year, let's talk about your strategy. If you have someone who's in high school now and you're thinking about it, or you have everybody's been out of the house forever and you want to make a move, or you're like, you know what, our house is way too big for 3 to 4 people, let's downsize. Now's probably the time. And why I say that is because we've got several really unique things coming together. Crazy enough, it's in the midst of a pandemic, but we've got just all of these numbers. When you look at all these numbers, you're like, oh, Tiffany, I don't want to see all these numbers. But appreciation, we've got appreciation on our homes. Month supply of inventory is clearly a seller's market. But when you look at the interest rates, it's incredible. The key component here, though, is equity. equity in your house. And so let's talk a little bit about what equity is and how that affects you. So most Americans today have gained $17,000 in equity over the last year, and their current equity in their house is $194,000. 38.2% of you out there are free and clear, do not have a mortgage on your house. And 10.8% increase in equity totaling over $1 trillion is what has happened recently. When we look at these numbers and we have high prices for sellers, if you're thinking about selling, you don't want to wait till the market goes down. You want all of your equity. At least that's what I would think you would want. 58.7% of all homes in America have at least 60% of equity in their home. And also, Americans are sitting on a tremendous amount of equity. So as you're thinking about selling, you might be surprised based on what home values are as to where things are today. Looking at North Carolina and South Carolina, I think this might be a little blurry, so I apologize for that. But North Carolina is $16,000 and South Carolina is $14,000. That is about how much gain we've seen year over year in the last year in the middle of a pandemic. Who would have thought this last March? $54,221 is what someone would stand to gain if they bought a house now and what we expect it to look like in 2026. So if you're downsizing, you're still going to be making money for yourself, but you're going to be putting the hard-earned equity you have to work for you with a smaller mortgage. And that is a huge thing for people. When you look at interest rates today, which we'll talk about momentarily, it's incredible what they can get you compared to what it got me when I bought my first home and the interest rates were 6 to 8%. And I always bring this up. My mother's first mortgage back in the 70s was, I think, 13 to 14%. And to think what you could buy then, I think she bought a $70,000 house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It was her, my sister, and I. My parents were divorced. And today, what I could do with that mortgage and what kind of house I could buy. Things have changed a lot over the years, but the interest rate being so much lower is huge. So if you're looking to take advantage of that equity you have in your home and you want to be able to apply more money towards your retirement or investments or paying down debt, there's a way to do it. So the other component on downsizing that you might not even thought of is a lot of people, and I've seen it in our area, where people are moving here, and some people here are moving to the beach or to the mountain saying, hey, I'm getting out early. My children are being homeschooled, basically. I can work from anywhere, so why wouldn't I go ahead and buy that place in the mountains or buy that place at the beach or do something like that? And so I'm seeing people downsize in that manner earlier than they thought they would because they can. With the flexibility we've seen and with people being able to work from anywhere, we're seeing more and more of it. But we're also seeing more of a demand on our area. And that's one of the reasons why our prices continue to go up, because people from New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, Florida, California are all moving here. We have incredible prices on houses compared to their market. When you look at their markets are going up too. So it's no big deal for them to sell their house and move here. And oftentimes when they move here, I get, is this tax for the month or is it for the year? Because they really are surprised at our incredible tax rates as they start to look into what makes sense in our market. What's going on in the economy? Interest rates. Interest rates are the biggest thing right now. Yes, we have the inauguration, different things going on there, but interest rates and mortgage rates. Everyone out there, Freddie, Fannie, Mortgage Brokers Association, National Association of Realtors, all four think that we're going to stay in that 2.87 to just over 3% this year. And so that in itself is incredible. So even if downsizing doesn't make sense for you right away and you're going to be in your home for a few years and you're still looking for a strategy, refinancing might be the right way. So consider that, because if you have a higher rate, let's say 4%, 5%, 6%, you're going to be cutting your mortgage payment each month down drastically. So if you want to have a conversation about that, connect with me. I'll connect you with a lender. Last month, we had a lender on, talked about all the different options out there. There's incredible options today. It's amazing. So then mortgage rates. Again, look at where we were in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 in the 4s and higher. And now we have popped down below 3, and we're expected to stay at 3 or below between now and the end of the year. And Freddie Mac, everybody pretty much is saying it. What's our housing inventory like, though? And that's what I hear a lot of you say is, well, Tiffany, where am I going to go? There are places for you to go. We've just got to put that strategy together that makes sense. If you're thinking about downsizing, but you don't want to get rid of your home before you find your new home, there are several new programs that you should reach out to me about. We've got Ribbon, we've got Knock, and we've got another couple of options that I think might interest you. Inventory of homes, as you can see, they're down 55% compared to 2019. So the end of the year, we ended at about 30% off of where we had been year over year from 2019. So that means less sellers will put their house on the market. So if you've been waiting on the sidelines, don't wait until everyone rushes to put their house on the market or till the prices start dropping. List now. Take advantage of your equity while you've got it and while you've got great interest rates if you're moving on to your next home. Year over year inventory levels, this one's a very interesting one. And this goes back all the way to 2014. It kind of shows you our inventory has been low for a while. And as builders didn't build as many houses as they probably would have liked to this year based on just COVID and restrictions and supplies, we're looking to see more building this year. We're looking to see more. A lot of indicators are showing sellers are going to come back on the market this year. Days on market, down 18.6% year over year, 35 days. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, we want to put together a strategy before you hit the market so that we know what you're going to do and how to best approach that, because our market has really heated up. And we definitely didn't really have a slow fall or a slow winter in terms of buyers because buyers are there. Prices, what's happening with the prices? Average price in Charlotte for this past year overall was $334,985. That's pretty good. That's up over 10% compared to last year, and 2019, I should say. Seller traffic, we're seeing stable market in North Carolina and a little bit weak in South Carolina. So if you're on the South Carolina side, we've had a lot of new construction over the last few years, and so people are staying in their homes. And on average, people have stayed in their homes 9 to 10 years over the past few years, as opposed to that 6 to 7 year mark that we had seen previously and had pretty much been a historical marker at 6 to 7 years. So a lot of people have been waiting on the sidelines, looking to see what they're going to do. In North Carolina, we have it a little more open than in South Carolina relative to the actual traffic. Existing home prices, when you look across the country, I alluded to this a few minutes ago, no matter where you are in the country, prices have gone up. And so as they've gone up, people have more money to spend in the Carolinas. Change in sales price. You can see change in sales price, 100,000, it's gone down. Or actually, I should say sales ranges. It's gone down because there's just not that many homes for sale in that price point. But you can see that stair stack of 37, 64, 84, and 88 in terms of that 250, then the 500, the 750 mark, and the million plus mark. I think the most interesting indicator here is that 750 to a million, up 84.9% across the country, and that million plus is up 88.1%. A couple of years ago, or even at the beginning of last year, those sales were down and they were slowing. People didn't want as big of homes, but now we have seen people who are homeschooling and doing home offices wanting more space. And so if you do have a larger home and you're thinking about selling, now probably would be a good time before that interest shifts and changes to sell. Showing time and showing trend. You can see that big dip back in March when there were hardly any showings when we were starting the pandemic, but you can see the blue line is this year, the gray line is 2019, that our showings in North Carolina pretty much tracked very close to what they did last year after we had that big dip. And it's very interesting to see how year over year you slow down around Thanksgiving, you slow down around the holidays, and it's starting to go back up. This year, we are seeing more people out, more people asking questions about homes this year compared to last year. How can you stand out? How can you make a difference? If you're thinking of selling right now, it's probably getting someone in and helping you declutter. It's looking at it, staging your home to get the most amount of money. You want to stand out, but you also want to do it safely. And so making sure that we talk through the safety protocols and how to best get you over the finish line. But you also want to make sure Repair-wise, if you're looking at your house and we're thinking about selling it, we've talked a lot about decluttering, organizing, staging, but that home repair piece. You want to make sure that you look around your house and you see, what have I been putting off? What do I need to address? It could be caulking. It could be having your HVAC service. It could be someone coming to do a tune-up on your roof. It could be some paint. There are a lot of things that go into a home inspection. It could be some issues with your windows or a faucet. I'll tell you, in my house, I have one thing that drives me crazy, and my husband would laugh if he heard me say this. When you have a faucet at your sink, our sprayer messed up. So we had one of my daughter's rubber bands around it for her hair for the longest time. We finally got a plumber and got that fixed. Well, our gas range, we have to use a lighter to light our gas range, like we're going out to the grill as opposed to in our house. We haven't gotten that fixed. If you're like us and getting those things slowly done, put it on your list, get it accomplished. If you have a home warranty, they'll come out and cover it. If you need a handyman, if you need a plumber, if you need an electrician, I've got you covered. Reach out to me. I've got great contacts that will come out and take care of you. But think about that and even invite me into your home and I'll identify things and put together a strategy and a list so that you can get those accomplished so that they're done before the buyer gets an inspector to look at your home. So those are some things to think about home inspection wise. If you're thinking, Tiffany, I haven't done anything to my house in years and I'm not going to do it. I want the easiest possible process to downsize, to get out of your house. We've got that too. Don't just go and call Zillow or Open Door or OfferPad. They charge a ton of fees to sell your house, more than the commission that you would pay me and a buyer's agent. So talk to me about what the strategy would look like to get your home sold for the least amount of fees associated with doing it. And we've got some instant offer options that I'd be happy to share with you. What does your future look like? Get out there and create it. Don't just sit on the sidelines thinking, I need to downsize, I need to do this. Myself and others can help you get to that finish line, to help you get more money in your pocket, to help you get more savings going, to help you get rid of the debt that's been dragging you down. I promise you, if you contact us, it's confidential. We're going to walk through that process of how to downsize and what makes sense for you. We've talked about so many different reasons you might want to downsize. There's going to be a specific and a special strategy for you. So if you'd like to get more information, reach out. Tonight, I really wanted to talk to you about what's going on in our marketplace and how does that affect you? Are you overwhelmed? Let's figure out how to focus and get down to the points of where do we start? How do you plan a move? What repairs or how might we address inspection reports and getting things done? We can even get repairs done and pay for them at closing. Then just how do you get your house ready for today's buyer? We talked a little bit about that. And we also talked about, are you curious? What would your home sell for? I've told you it's the highest it's been in years. So reach out to me or do a quick valuation and I'll give you the details below. But from a standpoint of getting your home ready to show, ready to sell, to downsize, to meet your goals and your dreams for this year in 2021 or in the future years, I'm always going to be here to help. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this point. I really appreciate your time tonight and I look forward to hearing them. Thank you. I'm Tiffany Johannes with RE/MAX Executive and Charlotte Home Experts. Would love for you to follow us and like us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube if you're listening there. You can also subscribe to us. Thank you so much.